Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello class, welcome to my presentation. In this opportunity, I would like to elaborate the material about managing the classroom. But before we go further, let me introduce myself. My name is Debbie Maulana Ahsan Hala, but you can call me Debbie. I'm an English Education Study Program student from Class 3C Batch 2019 in Galuh University. Okay, let's continue to the material. So, I'm interested with the topic about how to manage the classroom because there is so many beneficial for me to apply that in the future. Therefore, I choose this material to be explained by myself. So without any further ado, let's begin the material in the next slide. Okay, in order to manage classroom in an effective way, teachers should be able to handle a range of variables. It consists of organizing classroom space and time by the teachers in their classroom. We also need to notice how the teachers use their voice, the way teachers talk to the students, the way teachers give the instructions, who talks most in a lesson, whether student talk or teacher talk, and the role of the mother tongue or L1 in the lesson. All of these points will be explained clearly in the next slides. So, now let's move on to the next slides. Okay, it's about the teacher in a classroom first. To manage the classroom, teachers should consider their physical presence and behavior in a classroom. The way teachers move, stand, respond to what happened in class, the degree of awareness to the classroom situation, and marking the difference between successful and less satisfactory lesson. There are 4 aspects that teachers should consider carefully. The first one is proximity. It means that teachers should consider how close they are to the students. The second one is appropriacy. It means that the teachers should consider what kind of effect such physical behavior has, so the teacher could behave in a way which is appropriate to the students and the relation teachers wish to create with them. Point number 3 is movement. Every teacher has their own way to take a look to their movement. Nevertheless, moving around the classroom to some extent is regarded as the most successful way to do. It can retain students' interest and make closer to a smaller group. However, it depends on teachers' personality to choose which physical way they want to do. And the last point is awareness. Awareness is assessing what students have said and responding appropriately because making contact with students is the key of helping students to learn in classroom. Self-awareness is also important because by having this, teachers can measure their behavior and know how students see them. Therefore, awareness can be concluded in personality aspect to manage classroom. Alright, let's go to the next slide. It's about using the voice. There are 3 considerations in using the voice well. First one, teacher's voice should be audible by students who sit in the front of until in the back of the class. Being audible here means they tend to have a good projection rather than a high volume. And then point number 2 is teacher should vary the volume of voice that depends on the activity. The volume of voice will be different when we are giving instruction, introducing a new activity, and having an informal conversation. The last one is conservation. It means that teachers should control their voice by emphasizing the important thing to conserve their voice. Okay, let's continue to the next slide. It's about talking to students. Talking to students is the way teachers interact with their students. This manner is one of important teacher skills. Before teachers are required to empathize with the students by establishing a good rapport with the students. There is some natural ability in talking to students. The first one is an unconsciously ability that is commonly used by teachers is rough-tune the language. The ability is the way to make teachers be more understood. In order to be successful at rough tuning, all teachers have to do is speak at a level which is more or less appropriate. The second one is natural adjunct. Teachers adapt their language by using physical movements, gestures, facial expressions, and mime. Okay, let's continue to the next slide. It's about giving instruction. In giving instruction, it is better for teachers to keep giving an instruction as simple as possible and logical thing. It is also necessary to check whether the students have understood or not. It is carried out by asking students or one of them to show the other students in a class how the exercise works. Okay, let's go to the next slide. It's about student talk and teacher talk. So, what talks most in a lesson? To answer this question, we have to know some characteristics of a good teacher. A good teacher should maximizes STT, student talking time, and minimizes TTT, teacher talking time. In this matter, the activity should be student-centered. It means that student talk time should dominate the activity than teacher talk time. A good teacher also considers TTQ, teacher talking quality. In other words, teachers should engage the student with many interactions using appropriate comprehensible input so that it could help them to understand and acquire the language. Okay, let's move to the next slide. It's about using the mother tongue or L1. Guidelines for using L1, or we call it mother tongue, and classroom instructions are: the first is commit to creating an English environment. It is better to use L2, in this case English language, as often as possible, so English should predominate in an English lesson. However, it is forgiven to use L1 or mother tongue whenever there are complicated instructions. For example, the student need individual help and encouragement in understanding complicated instructions, so the use of the L1 or mother tongue may have very beneficial effect. In case there are students with a variety of different mother tongues, it is useful to get students to think of similarities and differences between L1 or mother tongue and L2, in this case English language. But they will have to explain these differences in English. Okay, maybe that's all for me. Thank you for your attention. I do apologize if there is any mistakes. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.